the co-main event of Thursday's Fight Pass card, and that would be two heavyweights who are basically just going to stand in the octagon and train until somebody falls over. Roy Nelson, Derrick Lewis, and, I mean, as the great Jim Ross once said, we have a slobber knocker on our hands, man. This is going to be just one of those fights where you just sit back and go, these two dudes are about to beat each other up, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a fun fight, but I hope Dos Anjos and Alvarez are ready to go quick because I don't think this is going to go that long.
No, not for sure.
Because somehow though, Nelson kind of, you look at him and you're like, oh, he's got no cardio, but somehow he keeps going. I don't know how or what he's doing, but when you look at both of these guys, I mean, Lewis looks to be in definitely better shape than Nelson, but that's not difficult to do really. But Big Country always seems to have that like second, third, he's got multiple tanks there, and somehow he keeps going while because he punches. I would have punched myself out the way he punches.
Oh, completely. I mean, Nelson was able to take a beating from Josh Barnett, who most men would have fallen down easily in one of his previous fights, and he just kind of kept taking it, and it's still coming at him. Yeah. So it's hard to put away Big Country. You're right.
Yeah. But you know what? The one way to do it is KO or TKO. And 93% of the Black Beast fight, Derrick Lewis fights in that way. That's pretty. When I looked at those numbers, I was like, wow, I just saw him right now and brought him up, and I'm like, 93% of his fights, he's 15-4-0, 93% of them are KO or TKO.
You can't do much better than that, honestly. The last time we saw Big Country, he beat Jared Rushholt, who's no longer in the UFC. In February, Lewis has won 3 in a row, beat Gabriel Gonzaga by knockout in April. I think this is Derrick Lewis's fight to win. I think it's great that Roy Nelson is still fighting, and we still get the look of a guy who probably was drawn out of the crowd to fight in the octagon. But I've got Derrick Lewis here.
And he's the common man fighter, right? He's the common guy fighter. Everybody like, I like him.
Dusty Rhodes, common man fighter.
He's the bull of the woods, baby.
Oh, it's gonna be fun.
But you know what? It allows Derrick Lewis, as you're saying, it allows Derrick Lewis to fight. Like we were talking about before, like with your Dan Hendersons. Although now he's proven us all wrong, and he might get a title fight. But you have them fight names. Roy Nelson. You know that name. You know it's going to be a good fight. He beats him. He moves up in the rankings. It's building up Derrick Lewis, and as you say, I believe it's his fight to lose.
Yes, so we're both picking Derrick Lewis. I'm currently writing down our picks for all these previews because I have not been doing well in our little
not at all
challenge. I'm like 500, I think. So I'm going to try to make up some ground here.
And I went with you on one of the fights last week, and I lost. My only loss of the year.
Oh yeah, because we both thought Rory would actually come out.
and
go for it.
Fooled us,
but no, he definitely fooled us. So. In the co-main event, we're both picking Derrick Lewis to beat Roy Nelson. And in heavyweight, you never know what could happen. So he could get a big fight after this. And Roy Nelson, he's always down for a fight. So I think he'll still be okay after a loss here. But I think it's pretty much Derrick Lewis's fight.
Yeah, I think with his name, he'll stay. Nelson will stay in the UFC just because it allows the younger fighters a chance to fight a known name. That's kind of like where Roy Nelson has found himself, the niche. He's found himself. If he wins, great. You might move up to 9 or 8. If you lose, well then great, because we're moving this guy up past you. So it's I won't say a win-win because Nelson's kind of like trapped in this position, but it helps out the UFC.
Yeah, and just a reminder, Sean, you were up 2 fights on me. You're 5-1 going into UFC 200. I'm 3-3. We started this back at UFC 198. Just a quick reminder to everybody, if you've never listened to the show before, if you've never heard of us, we are part of the FullMountMMA.com. We have a website online covering the greatest and latest UFC news, rumors, complete fight breakdowns. We'll have fight breakdowns for pretty much all the major bouts for UFC 200. And you can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at The Full Mount, at Coyle11 for me, at SS Sports.